Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Oh, Ishan.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay, the attendance seems to be low, and I know why. So I'm not even going to go there.
Why, ma'am?
Why? I don't think that should be a question. It's Saturday. Who wants to attend classes on Saturday?
Oh, never thought
Yeah.
of that, ma'am. Like, especially when 15 days before exam.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, you forget the days. How do you know the days? Especially since I'm home now, I'm not working, so I don't really know.
Yeah.
Every day feels the same.
Oh, glad to hear that. I don't hear that a lot.
Now I think you should, ma'am. Since it's COVID times, like more or less it's the same routine. It's hard to keep track of days.
But for you all also, you don't have classes on the weekends, right?
Oh, so I have no. Since I've
You don't have
graduated,
your-
ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just home finishing ACC as of now. So.
Colleges like where I'm teaching, they generally don't have classes on the weekend, so they do realize, and then we keep classes on the weekend. So for y'all, it's still the revision batch, and you're just a few days away from the exam, so it just doesn't feel like that also. But the regular classes also, ISDC schedules on Saturdays. So that time the attendance is
Generally, low.
generally
Yeah,
low.
makes sense. It was the case when we were in college, though, ma'am. Who attends class on Saturday?
Good number. I think 9 to 10 people are anyway there in the batch, and 8 are there today. So happy to see that. Anyway, today is the last class of this revision batch, right? So we have a lot to cover. We have to cover the remaining half of the question paper, right? It's comparatively easier than the first question that we did, because there a lot of reading was involved. Here we just have a one-page question, and the questions are there, right? So one page of reading, and then we can go ahead and do the questions. So what we do first is, for these questions, we are going to read the requirements first, to understand, what are you looking at when you're reading the case. So by any chance, did you guys read the case, the next two questions?
No, ma'am. Oh.
No, ma'am.
Not a problem. Anyway, reading is not going to take a lot of time. So let's start with the first question that is on target today. So we are moving on to section B. You all know the paper pattern. Now we have to attempt 25 marks, 2 questions, right? So all the 3 questions are mandatory, compulsory to attend. You don't get a choice. But this is a classic paper, which covers almost everything. So this particular question is based on the accounting treatment, and again the audit evidence that you will obtain in respect of the accounting treatment. So again, you have some procedures coming up, and then we have the implication on the auditor's report also, as to whether you're going to give an unmodified, modified, what kind of an opinion. So first we'll read the requirements, and then I'll give you some time to read the case. So for each clients, we have 3 clients in front of us: Needle Company, Monolith Company, and Shard Company. For each client, you have to evaluate the accounting treatment that they have done, whether it's correct or not correct, what they have done and what should have been done according to the IFRS. So you have to evaluate the accounting treatment. And to be able to do that, you should know the IFRS very clearly out here, the treatment, and explain the audit evidence in respect to the accounting treatments you would expect to find in your review of the working papers, right? So what will be the audit evidence that you will obtain for each of these companies? That is what you have to answer in the second part. Marks will be split equally between each client, right? Obviously the 3 clients. Then the B part is in respect of Shard Company. So when you're reading Shard Company, you have to include one more angle while reading. You have to evaluate the implications for auditor's report of the issue described. So whether you're going to modify the opinion or unmodified opinion with additional communication, all that things are going to come up. So before we can start answering these questions, now this is very easy, right? You have to remember the requirements while you are reading the case. So what are we looking at currently? You have different transactions for different companies. You have to see whether the accounting treatment has been done properly or not. That is the first evaluation. And second, the audit evidences that you will obtain for each of these three companies. And specifically for Shard, you have to also check the audit opinion that you're going to issue, right? So this is the question in front of you. If you want, you can open the PDF that you guys have with you that I shared yesterday, so that you can scroll up and down at your ease. If not, I will scroll up in a while, right? Gauging your reading speed. So I'll give you some time to read. Please read it carefully and with the objective in mind, and let's start discussing in a few minutes. Done reading?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone still reading? Want me to wait or can we start?
Start, ma'am.
Okay, we're starting then. So we have to evaluate the accounting treatment. So the accounting treatment has been given to you. You have to evaluate whether that has been done correctly or not according to the IFRS. And then you're going to talk about the evidences that you can obtain for these particular clients. So we are going to start with Needle Company. What has happened here is that we wanted to take some land on lease, and the lease expires in 10 years, and we have to return the land back to its original state. Now, for that purpose, a provision of $0.2 million has been debited to the operating expenses and credited to the liabilities in the financial statements. This is the accounting treatment that they have done. And the valuation of the provision, that is basically the amount that a Needle Company will require to get the land back to its original state, is this much. So that is the value of provision that has been done by the environmental surveyor. That was so this was an environmental expert hired by Needle Company. And you have a profit before tax of 2.5 million and total assets of 13 million, right? Tell me, how are you going to start? Like, what are your areas of consideration? How are you going to write this answer?
I think this was uh, IFRS 16 leases. Yeah, and it is a case of we are the lessee in this agreement, and we have to record a right of use asset and a lease liability. And it is a case of operating lease, since we have to return the asset at the end of its lease term.
So what is the appropriate
in
accounting
context of
treatment?
so we'll have to record a lease liability and a right of use asset.
Good.
Yeah, and in this case, getting more specific, I think the provision should have been added to the cost of the asset. So the right of use asset will include the cost of the provision of dismantling, and we are going to unwind, and we are going to charge, since it's a provision, it is going to be at its present value, and we'll have to unwind it every year, a part of the provision.
Good. Yes. So what do you think will be the
So
accounting
we'll have to
entry?
Since the cost of the entire provision, the provision was 0.2 million, has been debited to the operating expenses. So I think this should be added in the right of use asset, ma'am, and a part of it should be transferred to operating expenses, not the entire cost of the provision. It is a direct expense, and this is basically the cost of the dismantling should be added to the cost to the right of use asset, which will be depreciated. And only a part of it will be moved to the statement of profit and loss every year. So I think 0.2 million, the entire cost of the provision should not go to the operating expenses immediately, because we will be incurring the expenses after 10 years, not currently.
Right. So do you think it has to do anything with the discounting rate? Should discounting rate be considered? When we talk about leases for 10 years, according to
since we have to discount it, but since no
Rishabh, your
information
voice is
given,
coming from a distance.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you. Your
Yes,
voice
ma'am.
is
I'm audible
coming.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So that's what I thought about it. Like, is it correct? Like, what are your inputs?
I'm asking if the discount rate should be factored in here. Should we consider the discount rate? Should we discount the lease liability to the present value?
Yes, ma'am. The lease liability will be at its present value. So there should be a discount rate, but since no information is given, so it's a little difficult to tell about. It could be a risk, ma'am, but then how do I relate it to an accounting treatment? There could be a risk that is an inappropriate discount rate, but how do I relate it to an accounting treatment? I'm telling you what the accounting treatment is, but since there's a lack of information here about the discount rate.
Yes, yes. So you have to just mention one line or two lines that the estimated cost should be discounted to the present value using an appropriate discount rate. And if the provision and expense is not discounted, then it might not be a reliable accounting treatment, or it might not be the correct accounting treatment. So you for sure cannot tell me what the discount rate is. You cannot tell me the figure, but you have to mention that you will be discounting the estimated cost to the present value.
Yes, ma'am. And like, uh, can I like just say like the 0.2 million is a clear cut? It is an incorrect accounting treatment in this case. Because how can I put the entire amount of the dismantling provision in the first year itself into
Yes.
the financial statements? I'll just put a part of it every year because it's gonna happen. We're gonna incur that expense 10 years later. So there's a significant time element in this case. So I cannot put the entire expense right away.
Yes, but definitely. So we are going to talk about the accounting entry also, exactly that is going to be done at the beginning of the lease, before you even enter into that contract. At the beginning, what is going to go where, right? But in these questions, and even when you're talking about whether the audit report, like what will be the impact on the audit report, in all these questions, the first thing that you talk about is materiality, right? So
Yes.
I think Maria had mentioned also, yes, she's mentioned, do we calculate materiality? Definitely. And from the case also, it should have been a hint when they have given profit before tax and they've given you the total assets. They want you to calculate the value and how much is $0.2 million of 2.5. Calculate that. Tell me if it's material, firstly. How come it's 4% of profit? No, I don't think it's 4%. 0.2 on 2.5. It's 8%, no? The calculation is 0.2 divided by 2.5 into 100. That comes to 8%. Correct? Any problems so far?
Yes, ma'am. It's at 8%. And the materiality for profit is
Right?
1 to 2%, right? So it is profit before tax. No, 1 to 2% of assets, 5 to 10%.
Profit
So it is material.
5 to 10%. Yes, yes.
Yeah, roughly.
And you can also calculate on the total assets also. So 0.2 million of 13 million is how much?
So of 2.5%, it is 8. So of 13, it will be somewhere around 1%, like 1 or 2, roughly.
1.5, yeah, between 1 and 2, 1.5%.
Yeah.
So this provision represents a material amount. As soon as you calculate materiality, you get 1 mark for the calculation of materiality. Okay, I'll be telling you the marking scheme also. Right. Then you start talking about the IFRS that you're using and the accounting treatment. So like you said, according to IFRS 16,
Yeah.
the right to use the assets should be initially, it is recognized at the present value of the lease payments that you're going to do over a period of 10 years. That is the right to use of the assets, and that is debited, right?
Yeah.
At the present value, you discount the 10 years lease payments at the present value. So that is going to be the debit figure. Along with that, if like you said, if there are any indirect costs or the cost of restoring the asset to its original state, all that will be debited in right to use the asset. So what is debited in the right to use the asset? The present value of all the lease payments, any indirect costs, and any cost of restoring the asset to its original state. So this you would have studied in your leases, that all these are going to be added to right to use of asset and it will be debited.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So 1 mark for explaining the debit side of the entry. When you explain everything around the right to use the asset, right of use of asset, that will give you 1 mark. So we are at 2 marks as of now. Then we start talking about the provision. When you talk about the provision, which IAS do you refer to?
IS 37.
Very good. That is provision, contingent liability, and contingent asset. So you can talk about that, right? And a provision is recognized if there is a present obligation, right? That is the
Yes, ma'am.
definition, right?
Yes, ma'am.
As a result of past event and where payment is probable and measurable. Here, the condition of the lease, it requires that the land be restored to its original condition on the expiry of the lease. Therefore, a contractual obligation exists which is measurable. That is why there is a need to create a provision. Yes? Perfect. When you talk about this side of the entry, again, you get 1 mark. So we are at 3 marks as of now. Then I also want you to talk about discounting the present value. So an estimated cost should be discounted to the present value using an appropriate discount rate. Obviously, we do not know what the discounting rate will be. So therefore, then you conclude with your final entry. So now you spoke about materiality, you spoke about the debit side of the entry, you spoke about the credit side of the entry, and you spoke about discounting the present value, like discounting the value to the present value. And now you give your eventual accounting entry that you think is appropriate. So the accounting entry will be you debit the right of use of the asset, you credit the provision, and the provision is going to be of the value that is needed or of the cost that is needed to return the land or restore the land to its original condition, right? And you will credit the lease liability by the amount of the total lease payments that you have to make over the 10 years. So the entry will be debit right of use of the asset by the total amount, and you will credit provision and you will credit the lease liability. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this is the evaluation of the accounting treatment. Right? So this is done. Now we will do the audit evidence part also simultaneously for all the companies. So we are going to now talk about the audit evidence that you're going to obtain in respect of the accounting treatments you would expect to find in your review. So now for Needle Company, what are the evidences that you would want?
A copy of the report, ma'am.
Yes, the surveyor's report.
Yes, ma'am. A copy of the environmental surveyor's report.
Good.
We might not get the original one, but we can just take a copy of it since it is a management evidence.
Yes.
Then
Good. What else?
lease agreement, ma'am, that it expires in 10 years.
Copy
A
of the
copy of
lease
the
agreement.
Very good. Very good. Copy of the lease agreement.
to confirm the
Yes.
Terms and condition of the lease.
Very good. And about the clause of restoring the land to its original state as well. What else?
we can inquire of appropriate management personnel regarding the treatment, like if they are aware of it, of a lease liability, and if they are aware of IFRS 16. Discuss with them the appropriate accounting treatment.
But that is not really getting you any evidence, no?
That is a procedure. Yeah, that's a procedure. Yeah.
Ma'am, copy of the financial statement to confirm the entry regarding the provision.
Yes. You can, I mean, again, it's not an evidence
Since a
itself. You have to obtain evidence around that accounting. So if you read the question, it's saying you have to explain the audit evidence in respect of the accounting treatment. So for the accounting treatment that you've done, in respect of that, you have to obtain the audit evidence. So like checking the financials is the journal entry itself. There is no evidence around it. Understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can we check the asset register to see if right of use asset has been recognized appropriately? Does that make sense here?
You're going to check the asset register to do what?
To check if the right of use asset has been recognized. Is it applicable here?
Again, the same point that I told Shruti also. What will this do is this will tell you about the accounting treatment, that is whether the entry was passed or not, but we need to obtain audit evidence for the evaluation of that entry. So I need more information on whether the amounts are correct or not, whether the expert has whether the expert is independent or not, whether the lease agreement with whatever we are saying that is correct or not. We don't have to check whether we have passed the entry or not. When I check the financial statements, I'm checking whether I've passed the journal entry or not. But that is not what the question is asking. Question is asking you to give more corroborative evidence around this, around the journal entry. Understanding the difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Then, yes, copy of the environmental surveyor, that is the report, right, of the value of the land. Yes. Yeah, bank statements for cash payments made. Yes, bank statements for the payments, the lease payments made, or any costs incurred during the time of acquisition of land, that can be checked through bank statements. Right? What else? You can also do a physical inspection of the land, no? To confirm the use of land by Needle Company, right? To check existence of that land. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
You can also obtain a confirmation from the expert that they are independent from the client. And now here you are relying on the work of the expert. So when you're relying on the work of the expert, you have to check their competence, you have to check whether they are qualified. So you can also ask for a copy of the expert's qualification,
Qualification. Definitely.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So to check the competence of the expert. So these are a few audit evidences that you will obtain in respect of needle company. Let's talk about the next one, monolith company. Right? Okay, so how many points? That is 1 mark per piece of evidence. So in procedures and evidence chapter, please remember, you will be awarded 1 mark for each
Yes, ma'am.
correct procedure and 1 mark for each correct audit evidence. And I told you the marking of the accounting treatment, right? You have to talk about materiality, debit side, credit side, give the
Yeah.
final entry. That will give you the marks. Right? So here let's try and break the marks. So there are 21 marks that are for 3 clients. So we have 7 marks per client. If you want to break it down and play safe, what you can do is you can write 4 evidences, and along with that, you're going to evaluate the accounting treatment properly. So that means you write the materiality, debit side, credit side, and the final accounting treatment. If you write this, you get 7 marks heads on, right? Okay, going to talk about monolith company. Again, before starting with the accounting treatment, we are going to calculate the materiality. Please tell me if it's material or not.
Yes, ma'am. It is around 5.27%. So it is material
All right.
on profit.
Mhm.
And then since it falls under IFRS 15 revenue.
Okay, it's going to be IFRS 15 revenue. Good. So there are 2 IFRS involved here, right? Okay,
Yes, ma'am. One is 37, one is 15.
right, right. Tell me, how is 37 involved and how is 15 involved?
Yeah, because there are 2 parts of the warranty, ma'am. One that is that can be purchased, and one that is a part of the contract agreement.
Very
So one
good.
that is part of the agreement comes under IS 37. The one that is additional can be purchased separately. It is a separate performance obligation. So that should come under IFRS 15.
Very good. Perfect. So yes, which is a part of which is a bundled service according in addition to the sales that will be covered under IS 37, that is provisions, contingent liability, and contingent asset, and you
Yes,
call
ma'am.
it as an assurance type warranty, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then which is provided, which is an additional service for which the customers are paying, it is a separate performance obligation. It is known as a service type warranty, and that is covered under IFRS 15, right? So again, 1 mark for talking about IS 37 and talking about it being an assurance type warranty. And what is the accounting treatment of an assurance type warranty?
Just a second. Is my audible?
Yes.
So for the also on the IAS 37, yes, ma'am, that's what, right? It comes under IAS 37, and since it is the amount under bundled is around 65,000. 65,000 of the provision relates to 1-year warranty for all products. So this is the bundled part of the warranty. So this is this comes under IAS 37, and
What will be the treatment? What is the accounting treatment?
it is definitely over a period of time, ma'am, since it is not consumed immediately.
Correct.
Yeah, so it is initially, I think it might go into deferred income, ma'am. I think a part of it will be recognized into P&L every year as the performance obligation has been met. Not every year, but as the performance obligation has been met.
Okay, so it will be, since there is a probable outflow, it will be considered as a provision, and that provision will be utilized as and when the warranty claims are fulfilled. Correct?
So is there any deferred income element here? Not
No,
necessarily, no, ma'am.
No. There's
Not
no income element here. No, it's a liability for us. We have to pay our customers the warranty.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you will get 1 full marks or maybe 2 marks for explaining the assurance type warranty. Then you go ahead, talk about IFRS 15, that is revenue from contracts with customers. And there, because it is a service type warranty, there is additional performance obligation. So it is actually a service provided, and the revenue will be recognized over the 2 years when the performance obligations are fulfilled.
Yes,
So the warranty costs are going to be expensed as you incur the cost. So if I want to conclude, again, you'll get 2 marks for this. And if you want to conclude, the provision is overstated by $35,000 because it should be in accordance with IFRS 15. That is, it should be recognized as and when it is incurred, and a provision is not supposed to be made for 35,000. Correct?
yes, ma'am.
So the provision is
So
overstated.
until it hasn't been incurred, until it hasn't been incurred, where is the 35,000 going to be recorded? Sorry if I missed you on that.
It is not going to be recorded. It is going to be recorded because if you record it as your revenue will be overstated because it has to be deferred over the period of 2 years. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. So until that time, where is this going to be recorded? The 35,000?
This 35,000 is then going to be your deferred income to be recognized over a
Deferred
period
income.
of 2 years. Yes.
Okay.
So you cannot recognize it entirely as your revenue. Sure, I'll repeat this again. See, first you talk about materiality, that gives you 1 mark. Then you tell them that 65,000 will be covered under IAS 37 when we talk about provisions, and that 65,000 has to be a provision because there is a probable outflow, and it is an assurance type warranty. So 65,000 being recognized as a provision is a correct accounting treatment. But when we talk about the 35,000, that is actually a service type warranty, and for that the customers are paying extra. Since they are paying extra, it gets covered. It is no longer covered under provisions. It is covered under IFRS 15, that is revenue from contract with customers. And this is a service type warranty. So currently the provisions are overstated by 35,000, while this service type warranty, it should be treated as deferred income, which should be deferred over a period of 2 years. So it will not be classified under provisions. So when you write all of this, you get 4 marks easily for the accounting treatment. I hope that's understood.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about Okay, great, Maria. Let's talk about the audit evidence that you're going to obtain for this.
Copy of the warranty agreement
Good, good. Yes,
in order to understand the terms and conditions
very
and the
good.
classification.
Yes. So the terms and conditions of the warranty that is provided on sales, and to confirm whether it should be accounted in accordance with IAS 37 or not. Perfect. What else?
Ma'am, review of the work paper based on which the 65,000 has been predicted, that, based on like past warranties or whatever that have been claimed.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yes, you can assess the reasonableness of 65,000 by checking the past trends as to what were the warranty claims before. Definitely, yes. What else? Anything for extended warranties? Since those are sold separately, any evidence that you can obtain?
A copy of the past financial statement in order to assess how accurate the provisions are, or they're just using it in order to manipulate their profit.
Hmm.
They must have set
Correct.
a provision in the previous year also. How appropriate or how accurate was that? That will give us an idea of what is the possibility that they might get it right this year around. Or this might just be a way of management bias.
Correct. Yes.
Hmm.
Since you're selling the extended warranty, can you obtain any evidence for that?
Extended warranty.
What will be the document on
Selling
sales?
an invoice, huh?
Yes, yes. You will be giving out invoices if you're selling the extended warranties. So
Hmm.
that should be checked to confirm if they are actually sold as a separate performance obligation and whether they should be accounted for in accordance with IFRS 15.
15.
Right? You can obtain the board meeting minutes to understand the reasons for or the reasonableness of the warranty amount, of the provision amount.
Provision amount.
Make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So these are the evidences. Again, you pick up any 3 to 4 evidences for this, you get your full 7 marks. So the expectation from you guys is to explain the accounting treatment properly along with IFRS that you're using. That will give you 3 to 4 marks and 3 to 4 provisions, and that's it. Right? We are on to the last one. Right? Tell me the materiality first, and then we
Ma'am,
move
does
on.
this make sense? Like a list of the product lines, ma'am, in order to assess how many more products are there that have the same similar warranty process. That will help us to assess like how much part of the total provision is warranty, the materiality of the warranty of the entire organization. Maybe too far fetched, I guess.
Not really relevant.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Let's go on to shard company. Tell me the materiality first. Is it material? What is
Yes.
the interest amount on the loan?
7%.
7% of
8 million.
280,000.
8 million. 8 lakh. 5 lakh 60. It's definitely material now. It's more than the profit. For the year is only 2,25,000. The loan amount itself, but we calculate only for 6 months, right? Because of the loan
Yes.
was received 6 months before the year end.
Yes. So it's 7% for 6 months. So see, what has happened is,
So that is why
The-
there is 2,80,000, right, ma'am? Yeah.
correct, yes. So the loan interest is 2,80,000. That has been capitalized. The total loan interest has been capitalized as a borrowing cost. Now this total 2,80,000, I hope you've understood the calculation. It's 7% of 8 million into 6 by 12. Now, entire thing
ma'am.
has been capitalized as borrowing cost. You have to evaluate whether this is correct or not. So 8 million, the bifurcation is
I think this under IS 20. Yeah.
23 borrowing cost.
borrowing cost. Yeah,
Exactly.
23.
IS 23. So there are three conditions, ma'am, that should have been met. So the cost is being
Correct.
incurred. The loan amount is being incurred. The cost of borrowing is being incurred, and the activities are in place. So these are the three conditions.
It should be a qualifying asset also, no?
Yeah, but it's saying it's going to take a significant amount, right? 18 months to build. So qualifying asset is any asset that takes a significant amount of time to develop or to construct.
Correct. And that is usually taken as a year, more than one accounting
Yeah, so
period.
this is almost 1.5 years.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
but
So
see,
those three conditions are in place.
but this is actually this 8 million. The 18 months are for this 6 million amount. Correct?
Right.
See, it is expected that the warehouse will take 18 months to build and cost 6 million. We have taken a loan of 8 million, out
8
of which
million.
6 million is relating to a qualifying asset, and the
Assets,
borrowing
yeah.
cost on qualifying asset can be capitalized. But the remaining 2 million is used to purchase plant and machinery to replace a range of older assets in the construction process. So here we are purchasing the plant and machinery. It is not a qualifying asset,
Assets.
right? It did not take more than a year to build. We have directly purchased the plant and
Yes.
machinery. So only on this 6 million, you can capitalize the interest on borrowing cost. On the remaining 2 million, you cannot capitalize. You have to expense it out in the P&L. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what we'll talk about. See, first you'll calculate the materiality. Then you will talk about IAS 23, that is borrowing cost. And borrowing cost should be capitalized wherever they relate to the construction of a qualifying asset. Then you give one line about a qualifying asset. It is the one which takes substantial time to get ready for the intended use or sale. Now, then you will say that in this particular scenario, the new warehouse is likely to be a qualifying asset. Therefore, the interest cost or the borrowing cost on that can be capitalized. However, the interest on the plant and machinery is incorrect, as these are not qualifying assets, and that should be expensed in the P&L within the finance cost. So what is the conclusion? That the finance costs are understated and the assets are overstated because you have capitalized the entire borrowing cost on 8 million. So the assets are overstated and the finance costs are understated, and this amount should be removed. And if you can calculate that, it will be great. Calculate 7% on 2 million for half a year.
Seven percent would be 1,40,000. So, but waiting half a year, so it becomes 70,000.
So 70,000 has to be reduced from the capitalization of the asset, and it has to be put
Yes,
under
ma'am.
finance cost. Make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
This is going to be your accounting treatment. What are the evidences that you'll obtain?
Board minutes, ma'am, because it is a major event.
Definitely, yes.
So, board minutes. So we got what, a copy of the board minutes, ma'am?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can just obtain the board minutes meeting. Sorry, board meeting minutes. You don't have to write a copy. You
Copy.
can directly obtain the minutes.
Board minutes, board meeting minutes.
Ma'am, the loan document to confirm the interest rate, the amount, and such
Loan
things.
agreement, yes.
Definitely, loan agreement.
A copy of the calculation
Mhm.
of a copy of the calculation made by the management of the interest payments. Like, did they calculate the correct amount of interest?
Whether it is in accordance with IAS 23 or not.
Yeah, but here I'm just saying about the accuracy, ma'am. So we can just a copy of their calculation. They must have calculated it, right? So that can be one more evidence, ma'am. The treatment. Because there are always two things, ma'am, in evidence. One is the amount, one the accuracy, and then the treatment. So we can make two. Yeah, so we can make two evidence on the same thing.
Yeah, but they are not
Hmm.
asking procedures. They are asking about the evidence. So
Yeah,
the
yes.
evidence remains the same, no?
Ma'am, for every procedure we make, there'll always be one document that we can obtain, ma'am.
Yes.
Except for analytical, yeah, even for analytical review, I think we can obtain the documents.
There's always going to be some evidence that can be, even observing, let's say an inventory count is an evidence. It's not a tangible evidence, but it is still an evidence.
Yes.
Right? You can check the costing of the warehouse that is amounting to 6 million, whether that is reasonable or not. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. We could, yeah, maybe like I was just thinking that we could look at the invoice and the related party disclosure just to see if it has been sold to a related party. But then that is a procedure, not an evidence.
Not a related party. Again, similar customers, no? If any similar sales have been made, what has been the normal costing for such warehouses?
Yes. It becomes hypothetical.
You can also talk about the cost, the date where you commence building the warehouse. So you have to check it to become a qualifying asset. It has to be a significant period of time. So you have to confirm the date when the building commenced, to confirm the date from which the interest should be capitalized.
Yes.
Bank statement for interest payment. Yes, definitely you
Yes.
can check the bank statement for the interest payments of the loan. Right? So you pick up any 3-4 from these procedures, you get your 3 to 4 marks, right? How do you feel about this? Like, we've done 21 marks so far. Pretty manageable, don't you think?
Yes, ma'am. Hopefully it's manageable in the exam as well. It was pretty manageable. Yes.
Great. Not really, Maria. It's the same level. Like, maybe the length
Just
might
more
be
pressure, ma'am, that time. We're not able to
it's
think
only
clearly.
about, so that can only go with practice. Like I said,
Yes,
from the first day, you all should now actually stop doing the exam kit and do more question papers. and do those question papers in the given 3 hours. Like put yourself through that situation so that at that point in time you are not under pressure. And you know, when you're attempting the paper, like let's say you are 1 hour through with the paper, and obviously when you are you know, one hour is over, you'll still be on the first question only. But in the exam scenario, it kind of creates a pressure. So if you are used to attempting a lot of questions, if you've done the question papers, you kind of get a hint about where you should be, on which question or around which requirement should you be at a particular time, at any given time. So if you just are able to follow that pace through the exam also, it will not create any anxiety and worries during the paper. And if you have not practiced any question papers, you will be very clueless in the exam, and it will create some unnecessary pressure in your head, because you will not really know whether you are at the right pace or not, and that will just create that pressure that, you know, you need to rush, or you're too slow, etc. So the more you practice, the more hang you get over those 3 hours, you will exactly know where you should be. If in case you're lagging behind, you can speed up. If in case, you know, you are on the right pace, you're at the right pace, it just gives you more confidence. So we have some time before the paper now also. Please start practicing as many question papers as you can. Drop your exam kits and study text as of now. That is not what we want. Yes, you can revise the concepts on and off, but do not invest 100% of your time into that. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the B part. That is, you have to give me the implication for the audit report of the issue described for Shard Company.
It's clearly material, not pervasive. So I think there'll be no adverse opinion. Might just be an except for opinion. Like for starters, we can get into the detail because nothing's pervasive here, man.
Definitely. So again, the first thing that you talk about is materiality, right? You calculate the materiality. But like you said, it is not pervasive. It specifically affects only the finance cost and the non-current assets, and not the financial statements as a whole. So therefore, you can issue a qualified opinion with the wording except for, right? And so you can write the wordings also if you want, except for the matter discussed in the qualified, or the basis of qualified opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view. If you want, you can add this line. And then you will write that a basis for opinion paragraph, it gives the reasons as to why the opinion has been qualified, and it will provide an explanation of the misstatement that is relating to borrowing cost. And you will also quantify the misstatement for the users of the financial statement. So our quantification was 70,000. So that will be mentioned in the qualified opinion paragraph, the basis for qualified opinion paragraph.
And also, ma'am, provided there were not bigger issues, this could be a CAM, ma'am, like key audit matter, because the management could capitalize those expenses in order to increase their profit. So if they've capitalized too much, so their expenses are lower, and when their expenses are lower, the profit is higher. So it could be a key audit matter if there are not other important matters in the financial statements.
You can directly write, it can also be included as a key audit matter paragraph. It can also be included under the key audit matter paragraph, since this is this involves significant, this can involve significant management bias.
Yes.
Right? Perfect. So we are through with the first question of 25 marks. Going to move on to the next one. This one is a little lengthy, right? There are notes and everything involved. So we are going to quickly read the requirement. Now, you guys, your reading speed has to increase in this one. So we're going to quickly read the requirements, and then I'll give you some time to read the case. Again, it's a one-page case only. We'll read that and discuss. to describe the procedures to be performed on the profit forecast to provide an assurance report as requested by pillar company. So it's not on historical data for the forecast. You have to describe the
Yeah.
procedures that you'll perform
But
and
you can,
explain why limited assurance.
yeah, exactly. It will only be a limited assurance, ma'am, because a lot of assumptions involved. So we can just
Yes.
inquire, inspect, and analytical procedures. We cannot do anything else anyway.
Definitely. So those are only going to be your procedures involved here.
Exactly. We have to just make it case specific.
Explain. Yes, yes, yes. I think there is a small lag in the audio today.
Yeah, so I think it's manageable.
Explain why limited assurance will be expressed on the forecast and recommend one way Menhin and company may reduce this liability to the users of the forecast. Right? So why
We can put a
cannot-
clause on the in the engagement letter as well. Okay, this only relates to our clients who hired us and not to third parties.
And then we have some additional information and you have to explain the matters they should consider before deciding whether to submit a tender for the audit. And assuming that Menhir and company decide to tender, explain the specific information that will be included in your tender document. So we'll come to tendering later. That will be the additional information will be here. Let's first talk about the forecast and the limited assurance. I'll quickly please read this case and let's start discussing in the next few minutes. All right, shall we start the forecast question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have the forecast in front of you. So this is the forecast that the management has done, and this is the last year's financial statements. So the requirement is you have to tell me the procedures that you will perform on the profit forecast to provide an assurance report as requested by Pillar Company. So Pillar Company is the investing company. They requested you to give a limited assurance on the forecast because they are going to now invest in this company. So you have to tell me the procedures that you will perform on the forecast. Yes.
Recalculate the figures.
Recalculate the figures, yes, to calculate or to confirm mathematical or arithmetical accuracy. Yes. Whether the information
Okay.
provided by spy company is properly prepared on the basis of assumptions. Yes. You can give more details to that, Maria, more details in that. Assess, yeah, you can basically assess the reasonableness of different areas of the forecast. How are you going to do that?
We can inquire, ma'am, with an probably with an expert
Okay.
regarding assumptions, like are they adequate,
You
and
can
then check
also
his
compare with the,
qualifications.
yes.
Obtaining written representation from management.
Yes, written representation from management as to the reasonableness of the assurance, reasonableness of the assumptions. That is, whatever assumptions they have made are best or true to their knowledge. Yes. Good. Obtain the previous year forecast and compare it with actual to see how much, how accurate it was, how reasonable it was. Yes. Guys, now go into the details. Yeah, yeah.
Breakdown of the restructuring cost.
Good. Good. They said that they are going to restructure their firm. So whether that has been included in the forecast or not. Please calculate the increase in revenue that they have assumed. What is the increase in revenue?
Around 8%.
Yes, close to 8%. So see, their business was going down, right? Online business was increasing. So have they considered like what is the reason of this assumption of an increase in revenue of 8.3%? So have you accounted or have you factored in the further reductions in physical music and larger increase in online music? Because you are currently into physical music and that market is going down. So how are you telling me that they are going to, that the revenue is going to 8.3% and going to increase by 3%, right?
And plus, ma'am, this is an indicator of impairment. So there are other current assets, like we have 7 offices. So the buildings might be overvalued. So there's impairment might be undervalued, and hence cost of sales might be overvalued, might be undervalued because they must have not absorbed the impairment cost as well.
Very good, very good. Yes, the assets might be impaired because it is no longer of that value. So it might be overvalued and we need to check for impairment and write down the value of the assets.
Amortization of licenses.
Good, good. Amortization of licenses, yes. So you'll calculate the expected amortization with taking into account the expected economic life and agree that to the forecast, whether that is matching with the forecast or not. You can also check the payroll cost, right? So the payroll cost that was of the last year, what you can do is you can remove the cost or the salaries of the 4 people that were made redundant and add the salary of the online, the manager, no, someone was a new manager. Yes. For the online music division, add the salary of that person and see whether that is matching with the payroll cost of the forecast or not. Make sense?
Now, since it's given in brackets that it is unaudited, we can take a written representation from management. There were no significant events that would have distorted these figures.
Yes.
Because if they
Yes.
were, then this entire comparison is faulty then.
Mhm. Yes.
There might be digital sales. So whenever anything that is online, there might be no audit trail and they can overstate their revenues. When anything is through website or digitally, so there is no audit trail. There's not enough paperwork for us to track it back. So they can easily overstate it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
revenue might be overstated, which is the case anyway. But
Mhm.
it goes under a procedure, I guess. It is a procedure.
It is not, I mean, what is the procedure that you're performing? You're telling me the risk. What you're telling me currently is the audit risk.
Digital sales. Like risk procedure.
You're not telling me a procedure. What are you going to do
It's easy.
about it?
Like, how can I check that? How can I confirm that? I have to just say that.
Yeah, that is missing, no?
Yeah. So probably I can inquire individuals from the department in order to understand their process of recording and check the internal controls and see if the department is set up properly, are the systems in place, are they competent enough, are they doing the work correctly.
Okay. Yes. You can also inquire of the management as to how they have estimated the amount of revenue that is going to be generated from the new online business, because they are not currently in the online business. So you can check the reasonableness of that data by comparing it with the industry, with the online music industry.
Yes.
Ma'am, we could obtain a breakdown of the distribution and administrative costs, because since it's going online, we would expect distribution costs to go down, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can obtain a breakdown of the cost of sales and assess the reasonableness. And if there is any decline, like you're saying the distribution cost is going to go down, any decline should be adjusted in the forecast.
Okay.
As she spoke about restructuring cost, that is there.
Any formal communication of the restructuring, because a restructuring only happens when there is a constructive obligation, and for it to be a constructive obligation, it has to be an announcement. So has it been announced?
Okay, can say that.
Just as a procedure.
Yeah. You can also include one procedure on the finance cost, since they'll be raising the money, from Pillar company. So what is the reasonableness of the interest charge? Or you can calculate the estimated interest charge and, check it or agree or tally it with the forecast as to whether this 154 is a correct or reasonable estimate of the finance cost or not. Also, they are saying, they are going to, they have some headhunting company. Now, if you have a headhunting company, this is a recruiter basically, and you have to pay something to them also, right? Because they will be hunting some person for your job. So you have to pay the amount to them also, whether this has been included in the forecast or not. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. It'll come under this administrative costs, no?
Yes.
Setting up a company, supporting company. Yes.
Perfect.
The
So
cost profit
again,
percentage, ma'am, it could be overstated. It should fall even more. So It is a risk again, sorry.
Not a problem. Okay. So we've done enough and more procedures. If you give me, let's say, 8 to 9 solid procedures. See, if you give me 12 procedures, it's out of the blue. And you can actually, in this particular question, we have discussed more than 12 procedures out here. But if you can give me 8 to 9 procedures, well-supported procedures, you're going to get the marks. But in the exam, try to think that there is one procedure, 1 mark. Okay. So that ways you're just hedging your risk. You're making sure that you're not losing out on any marks. So you can just write 2 lines also per procedure, but try and give the number of marks that are there per procedure.
Yes.
Explain why limited assurance will be expressed on the forecast and recommend one way that Menhir company may reduce its liability to the users of the forecast. So first, let's talk about why limited assurance is given.
Because they cannot be thorough procedures, man.
Correct.
That
Because
is the
they are
main
based
reason,
on
right?
future events.
Which is a lot of assumptions and uncertainty.
Exactly. So future events are unpredictable. So therefore, that is the main reason it is a limited assurance. So a lot of assumptions, yes, lot of hypotheses involved in the forecast. And that is why we can only give a limited level of assurance. So you write this in detail, it gives you 2 marks. So the breakdown of this question will be 2 marks as to why limited assurance is given and 1 mark to limit or reduce its liability to the users. So you have to tell me one way to limit the liability to its users.
Meher & Co is the firm that we are part of, like the auditing firm. It's not a client, right?
Sorry?
Has been invited to tender. So Meher & Co is the audit firm, right, ma'am, in this case?
Yes, yes.
The
Menhir
client
&
is
Co
Milan Co. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So we can
So
put in the
we have to
engagement later. Yes. Sorry.
Yes, you can put it in the engagement letter, definitely. You can put it in the audit report. You have to just tell me one way, but let's
Okay.
just discuss.
We can
Right?
have insurance also, ma'am.
Good, good. You can
But
have insurance also.
that hedges our liability, does it?
Yes,
We still have to pay
yes.
that amount, right? It doesn't reduce our liability. Just gives us a source of finance to pay it.
Mhm.
So what else?
You can also have a liability cap. We studied liability cap,
Yeah,
right?
yes, ma'am. Yeah.
These are the 3 ways in which you can limit your liability. You can put it in the engagement letter, you can put it in the assurance report, or you can have a liability cap with the client. That agreement can be put. Right? Yeah, Gauri is saying reduce liability by mentioning a clause in the report. Yes, you put it in the audit report stating the intended users. Can you please tell me, we have discussed this, so I just want to check if you remember. Can you tell me where exactly, like in the audit report, in which paragraph will you include this limitation?
Other matters.
Very good. Other matters paragraph. Yes. Great. Okay. Let's move on to this. Please quickly read this case. This is going to help you answer these 2 questions. Quickly read these and we start with the B part. All right, shall we start?
Yes, ma'am. We might be conflicting with one of its. We might be in conflict of interest, ma'am. That could be
Mhm.
for starters because we are currently because we play auditors to several large restaurants and pub chains. So we might have a conflict. That is one of the things that we have to consider before accepting an audit.
Definitely, definitely. Conflict of interest, yes. I think one more person mentioned a correct point. Manisha is saying reason for not seeking the reappointment. So you have
Professional
to,
clearance.
very good, to obtain professional clearance from the current auditor as to why they are not seeking reappointment. That can lead to some underlying issues with the company, like intimidation or overdue fees, etc. So that needs to be taken care of. What else?
Ma'am, we should also consider if we would be in a position to perform property evaluations, because that would in the end lead to self-review threat of sort.
Yeah. Plus, if we have the competence to do it also. Like, do we have the
Good,
skills, the
good.
resources?
Yes. You can put it as two different points, okay? Competence is different, resources is different. Good. What else?
Deadline.
Sorry?
Deadline for submission.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
The deadline is at the end of the next week. So do we have the time to do our due diligence?
Very good. Yes. Yes.
This could be an incorrect procedure. It'll not. It'll be a professional issue also, ma'am. Incorrect client acceptance procedures.
Yes. Yes. We will not have the sufficient time as to assess whether we have the required staff, and yes, the due diligence to assess management integrity, etc.
Yeah, because there are quite a few things we have to consider here also, ma'am, like in terms of the conflict of interest, the competence for the property valuations. We have things to consider, and if we don't have the time, it might be an issue.
Correct. Maria is saying, what are the future plans, the business opportunities that they plan to take up? This will help to assess its own mutual prospects by working. A little far-fetched, like we do not really, like we are not a shareholder. We don't really care about what they are going to do in the future, right? That is more to do with the management, more to do with the shareholders will be more concerned. I'm just concerned about my fees, and I do the audit and I leave. I don't care if the entity is a going concern, not a going concern, as long as they are mentioning that in the financial statements. That is the level of independence that we need to have as an auditor. So we cannot be, attached to the client's success. Which brings me to the next point. You can talk about independence, right? As to whether we are independent from the client or not. If there is any familiarity threat or any ethical threat, we cannot be accepting that audit, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Gauri, definitely we should check our competence. Yes.
I think, yeah, ma'am, for 3 marks, I think we can just write 3 points.
3 points. You can also talk about management integrity and the reputation of the client. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
After this, we move on to the specific information that you include in a tender. So assume that you decide to tender. What are the specific information that will be included in your tender document?
Like our specialities. So we can mention that we are specialists in leisure and hospitality industry.
Yes, brief outline of the audit firm. Yes, basically the services that you provide. Very good. Manisha is saying fees. Yes, obviously when you're offering something, you will give an amount, right? That we are expecting. So we are going to give this service and we want this fees in return. So fees is going to be there. Ability to offer other services. Yes. Expected deadline. Yes. So basically the audit requirement and the deadline, that is by when are you planning to do the job, or by when will you be able to complete the job. Then we have key personnel, yes, people who are going to be doing the audit, key staff and resources, that is the audit partner and the other key staff who would be carrying on the audit, a brief about them and their qualifications. Then quality control, definitely. Audit approach and the audit responsibilities, yes, that we'll be willing to take up. What is the industry experience? Like, what is the industry experience of our firm in the industry that we are looking to tender in the industry that we are, trying to get into with Milicano. So there you can talk about your industry experience as a firm, right?
Ma'am, within the brief outline, we could also mention that we have 7 offices across the country, because this Milicano company has a chain of restaurants around the country.
Yes, you can include that. That will be a good point in to include in the tender. That might give you an edge over the other tenders.
Yeah, we could be cost effective, ma'am. We can let the client know since he needs more services. Like if you hire us for more than 2 or 3 services, we might be cost effective for you, which is like a unique selling proposition for them over others.
Perfect. Yes, can include definitely. Right. So here actually, again, for every valid point, every valid content point, you're going to get 1 to 2 marks, depending on how nicely you're able to explain your points. So as long as you write 6 to 7 well explained points that you're going to include in the tender, you're good to go. Right? Okay, so this is it for this question. Do you have any questions? Anything to add in this particular question? Okay, I will stop sharing the screen. Yes, we are done. I don't know if the video thing will work, but I'll still try. I think there's a small lag, but yeah. So we are through with the 10 hours of revision. And I hope it was helpful for you guys. I was actually
Definitely.
planning,
Super helpful.
really glad to know. And I was planning on leaving you guys early because it's Saturday, and I'm glad we could do that. We have 20 minutes in hand. So if you guys have any questions that you would want to ask, you can ask. But this is it from my end. And I really enjoyed teaching your batch. It was wonderful. You guys were very responsive. And it doesn't feel like it's just been 5 days. It feels like I've known you from a long time, because it's difficult to find interactive batches online.
Especially on a Saturday.
I hope it was. Yeah. I was not expecting this attendance also. Like 9 people, I think usually also 9 people are only joining. So that's great. And really hope it was value addition for you guys. You learned, and it is going to hopefully help you with your exams.
Yes, ma'am. Hopefully. It will definitely.
All the very best, guys.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Please
so
make
much.
sure that you're keeping the points that we have discussed in mind. Please solve more question papers to give you the level of confidence that you need before you go in for the paper. Right?
Ma'am, if you could share the link, ma'am, of all the documents that you were using, like especially the Kaplan pocket notes. Because I think the link you shared the other day was just the questions.
So So what I'm going to do is as of now, I'm going to just share the Google Drive link with you. And maybe you guys can check this link after an hour or something. I'll upload all the documents there.
Thank you, ma'am. That would be
Thank you,
really
ma'am.
helpful.
Thank you, Manisha. Glad to hear that.
Ma'am, thank you so much for these classes. Like the way in which you speak to us, your tone and all, it's very reassuring. And of course, like all the inputs that you gave are very helpful. It like improved my confidence a lot. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Keep me posted about when you appear for the paper and what happens. I'll be really glad to hear that.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. You can
Maria.
share your email ID also, ma'am. To tell
Definitely,
you our
ma'am.
results.
I was very optimistic, and I want you guys also to be very optimistic while giving the paper and while preparing also. You can drop an email anytime. I will respond to it. Great, Maria.
Ma'am, do you even teach
glad.
SBL? Are you going to take SBL also?
I just took a revision batch, like for you guys only. I took a 10 hours batch, and yeah, SBL also I teach completely.
So probably, ma'am, the next exam that'll be my last. The SBL. Hopefully, I'll email you, ma'am, if you're taking the classes to do it with you.
Which college, Risha?
I graduated from CMR University.
CMR, we just had a batch. But no, but that was audit. That was double.
Yeah, I am writing AFM now. So that starts day after tomorrow. Same time.
Okay. That starts from Monday.
Yes, ma'am. It starts from Monday. Same 5-day session, 3 to 4.
Who's taking that?
Yeah, I have the name also. It's something from S.
Ma'am, Sarvesh sir is taking AFM.
Yeah, I guess. Sarvesh sir.
Just creating the link for you guys.
And how else can we score the professional marks, ma'am? The 4 marks, like just the format of the briefing note.
Just the format, and just try to be as structured as you can in your answer.
Yeah, like there's
Don't
like persuasiveness of the answer. So that was just the only point I didn't like to really understand. Persuasiveness, I think, on point. Or
persuasiveness, as in you're able to convince the examiner about the point that you're making. So your point should be so logical that you know that the examiner is convinced about it.
Yeah.
And so more and so structured also, like when you know currently we were discussing these points. If you notice, there was a structure to the way in which I was telling you all the answers. Like first we'll speak about materiality, then we speak about the debit side of the accounting, then we speak about the credit side, then we give the entire accounting entry as a whole, right? And then we speak about whether the accounting treatment that the company has done, whether that is correct or not. So this has to be a process. What students do is they will start with, you know, this is an inappropriate form of accounting, the entry should be this, and then they explain that. It is just more haywire, and the examiner is not very happy with the structure of the answer. So as you have entered into professional exams now, you know, as an examiner, I do not expect that a student is writing this paper. I expect that a professional is writing this.
Yes.
I am going to expect that level of, you know, preciseness and conciseness in your answers. So the professionals will never go behind length of the answer, right? When I'm giving a presentation, the aim of the presentation is not to drag the presentation for 2 hours, but the aim is maybe to give a presentation in half an hour, but make it so assertive and make it to the point as possible. So that is the expectation from you guys also, not just for AAA, but for all the papers,
others.
all the professional level papers.
So then
Even
the-
SBL, I'm going to tell you the same thing.
We can score 2 marks easily, no, ma'am, out of the 4 professional marks. One would be for the format. That is 1 mark we can easily get, and the other would be for the logical sequence. These are 2 marks that we can
It
easily
is
score.
4 on 4 also. Trust me, if you have answered the paper properly, even 4 marks is not a big deal.
So ma'am, advanced audit only has 4 professional marks out of the total 100. Okay.
And how can we access the drive now? So after we leave the meeting, where do we get the link?
I'm sending the link right away in your chat box. Save it. And go to this link also. See, I've uploaded 2 things out here. I've uploaded the question paper and the answers to this. See if you're able to access it.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Please save this link and check it maybe another, check it after another half an hour or 1 hour. I will upload. You need the slides, right? What else do you need? The recordings. Okay, I'll put up the recordings also. Yes, I do. I will share that also, Maria. Okay, I'll share that also. Right. So recordings and more mock papers. Fine. Give me an hour or something. Recordings might come a little later also because I have to download it from Zoom and then upload it. I might take some time to do that, but other things will be done in half an hour, 1 hour. Is that okay? All right, guys, all the very best for your exams. Thank you so much for being so patient and being so like responsive throughout the 5 days. It was lovely teaching you all, and hope I will see you all live also soon. Take care. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.